I'm Ella Tennant at the Language Centre and on a Liberal Arts degree programme at Keele University. I'm going to talk a little bit about Snagit and why I started using it and the applications in learning and teaching. First of all, I'd like to explain a little bit about why I started to use Snagit. At Keele University, we're required to give online feedback to students, and I wanted to find a kind of feedback that would allow students to be a little bit more engaged in the feedback process. It was generally assumed that students were interested in the actual grades but didn't necessarily focus on the feedback and the sort of comments that were provided, especially when these were in the form of reading a written script. And I was introduced by our learning technologist, introduced me to Snagit, and I found it to be, I experimented with it a little bit. I found it to be very user-friendly. I set up a short pilot study with a few groups of students. The response was overwhelmingly positive, and so I continued to use it in all of the modules that I teach for feedback to all of the students on their written work. I generally use Snagit for video capture, although there are features that I've experimented a little bit with using photographs. They can be included into PowerPoints and lectures, as can the screen capture videos as well. It has enhanced teaching in terms of feedback and assessment, because the students do engage with the assessment, with the feedback, and so the response continues to be good in that kind of area. To be able to talk to a student, to be able to highlight areas that need improving on, to be encouraging when there's obviously something that is drastically wrong with a piece of work. I think it is very important, and that is the essence in sort of helping to develop learning and the students to be able to improve in what they're doing. So in terms of best practice, I think this is a really good tool to use. A lot of people find that, you know, it's very easy to provide feedback in a written way. This is less time consuming. I think you can cover a broader area in doing this kind of, in using this. And I think mainly the main thing is to just start doing it and practice, because after a few times you do get better at doing it. It does seem a little bit strange if you're sitting in your office in the evening talking to yourself. Using Snagit, really it does have a direct impact on students' motivation and the level of attention that the students pay to formative feedback, and that is clearly very, very useful. It helps the students to focus on the feedback rather than just the grade, and in focusing on the feedback as well, the students really appreciate that personal touch, that they feel that they're in a one-to-one tutorial rather than in a sort of going through that formal feedback process. Another plus is that it is, once you get the hang of it, which doesn't really take very long, because I know a lot of people think, oh, it's technology, I don't know what to do, but it is very user-friendly, and you know, it's just there at the top of the computer and you just click a button and press record, as long as you do have a good mic and that's connected. It is user-friendly. It's easy to use, and I would just say have a go. It really, you will be surprised to see the response. You know, I've had students saying to me when they've actually found their feedback on the Grade Centre and looked at it, and they've said, wow, that's cool. And I'm not really sure whether that's the sort of comment that we want to encourage from students, but it does help in terms of allowing them to be engaged in the feedback that they are getting on their work, and that's a step closer to them actually making a vast improvement, taking on board the comments that you make, and in the end getting much better grades on the next work that they submit.